Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar this evening. My name is Karen Keegan from the Delaware Department of Education. Thank you for joining us. I want to go through, I'm on the call with us tonight are my colleagues from the University of Delaware, Kelly Sherritt and Rachel Whittam from the Institute for Public Administration, who are working with us on Delaware Student Success Initiatives and College Application Month. So thanks to them for running this webinar this evening. Just a few housekeeping pieces of information. We are recording this webinar, and so please tell your friends if they're interested in watching. This can be accessed in a couple of days on our DelawareStudentSuccess.org website. All of the webinars that we have, the recordings are being posted there. Any attendees tonight are not on video, and you are all muted, but please put your questions in the chat and we will get to all of your questions. So please feel free to ask about anything that you're not sure about. This is a really great time to get those questions answered. I want to call your attention to our whole series of webinars that we have with Delaware Student Success. We have 17 of them. Some of them have already occurred, and there are still some yet to happen. And again, all of the recordings will be posted on the DelawareStudentSuccess.org website. But things like how to pick a career area if you're not sure what direction you want to go in, basic college admissions. All of our Delaware in-state colleges and universities have run a webinar with us. So if you want to learn more about any of those institutions, please watch their presentations. Later this week, we have a webinar coming up on the military with many different branches represented. We have another military session the following week. We will be talking about resumes, interviews, and cover letters, so that will help you get either jobs or internships, how to prepare for those. We will also be talking about apprenticeships and industry certification. So what kind of jobs can you get with an industry certification? So please feel free to join us to learn more about the many options that you have once you graduate from high school. Another thing that I want to call your attention to is our texting program. We have a Delaware Student Success texting initiative. And this is where we will send you about 2 to 3 texts per week. We will remind you of these upcoming webinars. We'll give you tips for things you could do to be preparing for your next steps after high school. And what's really great is you can ask questions and we will answer them. And the people answering your questions would be me from the Department of Education and my colleagues who are on the call tonight from the Institute for Public Administration from the University of Delaware. So that's a really great opportunity. And all you have to do to join is text the word success to 302-492-2092. We would love to have you join. And that is for high school students and parents or caregivers. You're welcome to join us. So I am going to turn the program over to our 2 speakers who are going to talk about things that might be helpful for first-generation college students to know. If you're the first in your family to go to college, this is going to be a great information session. So I'm going to turn it over to Takora Scruggs and Yala Best. So thank you very much, both of you, for speaking with our Delaware students tonight.
Thank you for having us. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm really excited about giving this presentation alongside with Yala Best. Just information that is good to know as you are going through the college application process. We know that it's coming. We know that there's a lot going on, but hopefully the tools that we share with you, you're able to just release a little bit and get the information that you need. Now, you will see a lot of information. However, we want to show you starting points, and we don't give you the information without giving you a resource to go to. So once we pull up the PowerPoint, so you'll see exactly what I'm speaking about. So I don't know if Yada wants to say a couple of words before we get started.
Yes, I'm also very excited to do this presentation as a first generation college student myself. There was a lot I didn't know, a lot of things I happened upon that were really helpful, and there's other things that I wish I knew during the process. So from my experience as first gen student and from working with first generation students, I hope that you're able to get a lot out of what me and Tikora have to say today.
Very good. So I'm going to share my screen so we can get started. Okay, so the name of our presentation is Prep 101. And call it Prep 101 because you will find the application process is about prepping yourself. You have to prep for every piece that's related to the application process. So as long as you are ready and prepared, you will find that the application process will go a lot smoother than what you think it will go. We've already said welcome, but we want to say welcome again to this presentation. You definitely could have been somewhere else at 7 p.m. on a Monday. However, Monday.
Monday.
It's Monday. But you have, I know, right? Days going by so quick. But you have opted to just sit with us for a moment as we give you some information about your journey to a credential or a degree.
And again, this is step one of getting prepared for all of this. So again, welcome. Thank you.
Yes. So I will say a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Tikora Scruggs, and I am a consultant with my own consultant company. However, I just recently stepped into a role as Director of Post-Secondary Support. So I've been working in higher education for over 15 years now, and in those roles, I've worked with supporting students and also working with college access, getting students who want to get their college degree, helping them through that process.
Yes, and again, my name is Yala Best, and I currently work at Johns Hopkins University as an academic advisor success coach with first generation and limited income students, helping them throughout their journey to make sure that they persist and thrive and do an awesome job while at the university. And then also part-time, I work as an essay specialist and admissions interview specialist with Prep Matters. So have some good tips for you on that end as well.
So in other words, she's almost like an expert. So while you have your hands on Yla, feel free to ask any questions as you want. So again, the plan for the day is just to give you an idea of what it looks like to apply to go to college, especially if you are the first in your family to apply. There are a lot of pieces again, however, once you see how the pieces come together, you will see that it all will make sense ultimately. So don't be discouraged by the information we give because it may be a lot. However, we always leave information for you to go to a resource to get the information that you need. And we also want you to be able to overcome the barriers that may exist currently when it comes to reaching your goals to get a degree. So first we want to touch on entrance exams. I know that you've heard about them. I know that sometimes when you hear about entrance exams, you're like, why? So I want to give you a little bit of information about the entrance exams. So when you take the exam, it's not based off of what you learned in school, actually. It's based on, they're trying to measure how prepared you are to do well in the future. So I think some students think if they have done really well in school, that the standardized tests, they measure what you've done in school. However, it measures your potential to perform well in college. There are 3 types of entrance exams that I wanted to touch on, we want to touch on today. The PSAT. The biggest thing about the PSAT, and I'm not going to read off of the PowerPoint, I'll just leave that up there so you can kind of read and listen as we go. But the biggest thing about the PSAT is that it will give you the experience you need to ultimately take the ACT or the SAT. Also, when you take the PSAT, it is a tool for those to give you scholarships. So when you take the PSAT, it's not only just aptitude test, it is a tool that they use to offer scholarships to certain students.
Yeah, so when you do take the PSAT, you'll also start getting some flyers in the mail and the information emails from colleges who may notice that you did well and you would possibly fit well at their school. Like Tikor said, scholarships, things like that. So even though it is practice for the future, it's also can start, how well you do can also start getting you exposed to different college options.
Definitely. Now I'm going to just kind of combine the SAT and the ACT because they're both standardized tests. The difference is what the subjects are, the subjects that you will be doing during the test. So for the SAT, you will be doing reading, writing, language, math, and an optional essay. However, if you opt to take the ACT, it has 4 subject areas: English, mathematics, reading, and science. So they both are standardized tests, but you see the difference is what subjects will be covered based off of the test you decide to take.
Okay.
SAT waivers. I wanted to share this information because at times the cost of taking the SAT is a barrier, but it does not have to be a barrier. They do offer SAT waivers, and they are available to income qualified 11th and 12th graders who are students within the US or the US territories. I highly recommend with this information, you take it back to your counselors and let them know that you qualify for a SAT waiver. Mm-hmm. Because also attached to the SAT waiver, you also can get application waivers for applying for college. So the bit.ly link at the bottom, that's the link to take you to the website that gives you more detailed information. This is just a little bit of the information, but again, I wanted to give you a resource to get more in-depth information. But you can take this information back to your counselor. You can take it back to whomever you are working with as it relates to applying for college and let them know that you know now that you now know that you qualify for SAT waivers. You wanted to take a deeper dive into how to make that happen.
And definitely take advantage of this. You can get 6 free SAT subject tests, 2 free SATs, and as someone who couldn't afford to do this, I was on free and reduced lunch, so that's how I qualified for it. I just took advantage of it. I was like, I have 2 chances to take the SAT for free. Let me do it, because why not? I don't have that barrier anymore that's preventing me from doing it. I was able to, I'm not sure of how many fee waivers you get for applications now, but at the time I could apply to 6 colleges. So I made sure that I found 6 colleges that I wanted to apply to and sent in those applications, again, because I didn't have that barrier. So definitely take advantage of these opportunities, because other students who don't have that barrier are definitely applying to a lot of different schools. They're getting a lot of different options. They're taking advantage of being able to take the SAT multiple times to get their best score. So when you have a resource like this, take full advantage of what you have.
And keep in mind the eligibility. If you say yes to any of those bullet points, you don't have to say yes to all of them. If you say yes to any of those bullet points, you qualify for the SAT waivers. And one thing about taking both standardized tests, not just the SAT, even though you're able to take it multiple times, you can submit your highest score to the institution of choice or the institutions of choice, but research has shown anything after your second attempt, if you don't prep for it, you won't see your score go up higher. So if you take it for the first time and you don't like your score, find out what tools you can use. The Khan Academy is a big one, to see how you can prep to take it again, because the second score will go up. It will go up, but if you continuously take the SAT, you will see that your score won't go any higher from the first couple of times that you've taken it. So just save your time, just save your waivers, just prepare for the test. Don't go in there just empty. Just make sure you prepare for the test. And the ACT also offers waivers. So if you choose to take the ACT as opposed to the SAT, they also offer fee waivers. The only thing with the ACT, you have to meet all the requirements you see on all the bullets on the screen, whereas again with the SAT, you can meet just one, but you have to meet all three with the ACT. And check with whatever school you're going to apply. Typically they take both, but you want to make sure that they do take both. I know with the ACT, a lot of it is regionally based. A lot of students who are in Missouri, for example, they take the ACT versus the SAT, but check with your institution to make sure that they do accept both the SAT and the ACT. So if you are dead set against taking either the SAT or the ACT, there are some colleges who understand that both tests, they don't define how well you would do as a student. So there are a lot of colleges who have registered with fairtest.org to say, if you come to us with a certain GPA, then you don't have to submit a standardized test score. There are some institutions where you don't have to have a certain GPA. Their stance is just, we don't think that the standardized test will define how well you would do as a college student. Yeah. So if you go to this website, you will find a list of colleges that the tests are optional. And also, because we are in the age of dealing with the pandemic, there are a lot of colleges who are waiving the SAT and ACT requirement regardless. You may not see them on the list on fairtest.org, but there are a lot of institutions who are waiving the requirement for the SAT or the ACT because of the current status that we are in.
Yep, the trend, even before the pandemic, was that schools were starting just to realize that the SAT or ACT standardized tests were just an unfair barrier sometimes because they didn't necessarily show a student's like aptitude for success. But as Tikora said, also the pandemic made a lot of changes as well. And so in the future, I see that trend pretty much sticking. And since we're at the end of that section, just wanted to see if there are any questions in the chat.
Yes, so we got a question from Brianna who asked, how will the waiver get processed and will they need to provide income details like pay stub?
I think for like the SAT waiver, for example, they might ask like our college counselor or something to certify that you are like on free and reduced lunch, or there might be different ways. There are different ways that they would be able to certify that you qualify.
But the easiest way definitely is to pipe it through your counselor if at all possible. But if for whatever reason you cannot or you don't have access to your counselor, if you go to the website that I listed, it will show you alternative ways. But the easiest way is to pipe it through your counselor.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so now that we have taken the test, or we have opted not to take the test because of fairtest.org, now the college application process can begin at this point. There are several things you need to consider before you get to the application process. One would be what type of school you want to apply to. So just making sure that whatever college you choose meets your needs, and those needs are cost, program offerings, size, and location. Those are key when you think about where you're going to apply. If you don't qualify for a fee waiver, just know that application fees can be pretty pricey. So you want to make sure you are intentional when you look at the type of college you want to attend. Do you want to attend a public institution? And a public institution is a college that's based in the state that you are from. Those typically tend to be the most cost effective. However, you have private institutions which tend to cost more. So just finding out and figuring out what costs you can bear at that point and which one is the best fit for you. Location is key. If you're used to living in a big city and the college you want to go to is in a smaller city, then that will affect how you deal in that environment. I'm not saying that you won't be able to cope, but it's a big difference from going from New York City to like a Raleigh, North Carolina. It's different. Even though Raleigh is definitely a city, it's not New York. So just understanding where you want to go to school and take advantage of the virtual tours that's going on currently. A lot of institutions are doing virtual tours. You don't have to invest in making a trip to that institution. They have all the tools that you need online to do a virtual tour.
And with that, it is one thing that colleges do look at is your interest in the school. So even by searching the school through your browser, they'll see how many times you like click on their website. Doing the virtual tours is very important. Reaching out to admissions, asking to speak to a current student or an alum. Just make sure that they know that you really want to go there. And by doing that, by doing like an alumni interview, these different things, they show that you're serious about the school, because when they're looking at students to bring to their institution, it's important to them that they bring someone who's going to persist and graduate in a timely manner and be happy. And how would they do that? Or how do they kind of figure that out? And one of the ways is through interests. And so right now that you can't go to campus, it's very important that you try to find out other ways, such as those virtual tours, not only just for yourself, but also for them to kind of be able to tell that you are interested in the institution. And another thing with cost, don't just look at the sticker price, because there are different types of scholarships that are available. And there are some schools that have merit scholarships, so based on your GPA, and other schools have need-based scholarships. So sometimes if you do qualify to go to a more elite institution, just because they have more money, then based on your need, you may qualify to go there for free. Like for example, like Stanford and Brown and Hopkins, if you make below a certain amount of income for your family, like for example, a lot of schools are doing like 175 or 125. If you make less than that amount, then you would go to the institution for free. So even though you see this huge ticket price, when you just look at the number on the website, you could end up paying less to go there if you do get in than to maybe a local school. So even though that's not every institution by any means, if you have the grades to get into these institutions, just check it out. Talk to the financial aid counselor, like do your research to see what it probably will actually cost you to go to the institution, rather than just looking at the sticker price.
That's a very good point. And I'm glad that you brought that up. That is very true. Very true. And when you're applying to a lot of institutions, you may want to also consider the Common App or the Common Black College application. And both are designed to do the same thing, but one speaks to a broader audience and one speaks to a student who wants to go to a specific type of school. So the Common App and the Black Common App, they allow you to pay one fee, and that fee will allow you to apply to a lot of different colleges. And when I say a lot, more than 15, more than 50. So you pay this one fee, you upload all your information into their website, and it's dispersed to whichever college you want to apply to. So you can use the service. You can apply to 2 or you can apply to 10. It's definitely up to you. The Common Black application is geared more towards historically Black colleges and universities. And I know at one point they had about 40 colleges, and you pay, again, one fee, and your information is then just dispersed to whichever college you want to apply to on those websites. So that's one very cost-effective way to get your information out to a lot of different colleges, as opposed to paying just for one application fee. Now, not all colleges participate.
And not having to put in your information a million different ways or write different essays. Like for the Common App, you have your Common App personal statement, which we'll touch on in a little bit. But that essay gets submitted to all of the colleges rather than having to have different prompts, different word limits, different things like that for your application.
And some colleges, including community colleges, are open enrollment. And open enrollment, you need to have a high school diploma or a GED or a adult high school diploma. It means that you don't have to have a certain GPA to attend the college. It's a lot more flexible. Some colleges outside of a community college has open enrollment. So there are some colleges who are a little bit more flexible when it comes to the requirements to get into the institution, but open enrollment means that they are a little bit more flexible when it comes to the requirements to get into their institution. It doesn't mean that the rigor, the coursework is any less than any other institution. They're just a little bit more flexible when it comes to allowing students to come to their institution to achieve whichever goal it is. So I'm going to leave this slide to Yaila because she is a guru. She does this all day. She does this, not all day, she does this a lot. So I'm going to leave it to her.
Yeah, so as I was talking about before, a lot of college applications do require an essay. And real quick before I forget, another like Common App type thing that exists, if you are applying to University of Maryland, for example, they changed it. Now they are also a part of the Common App, thank goodness, but there's also the Coalition app. So that's another one that a lot of schools use. But again, if you can find a way to apply to different schools through just one application, that would make it a lot easier. But anyway, so I wanted to talk about your college essay because this is a way of just showing the college admissions staff like who you are, why you would be a good fit for the institution. And it's something that can cause a lot of stress because it's a different type of essay than what you write in school. Like in school, you're learning about like the 5-paragraph essay, and just how you are taught to write that is very different than the college essay. So with the college essay, again, it's a personal statement, so it's a story. You want to engage the reader in a way to show them who you are, what your interests are. You want to show growth, things like that. So it's about being yourself. Remember, a lot of admissions people are alum and they're pretty young. So it's okay to kind of be your your high school self in these essays. They can tell if your mom or your dad have written your essay because they're expecting to be hearing from, 16, 17, 18-year-olds. You want to just show a lot of personality, but your personality, write something that's authentic to you. I know there's a lot of articles online that say like, this essay got this student into Harvard. You really don't know what got that student into that school, but also just trying to follow someone else's personality is not going to fit well to you. So yes, you want something to be interesting, but the way that you make it interesting is by showing your authentic self. Of course, you do want to have people read over your essay. You will have multiple drafts, but make sure it's not too many people because everyone's always going to have an opinion and people are going to have different opinions. So when you have too many cooks in the kitchen, it's just going to frustrate you. And it's going to, again, end up not being your authentic essay. So maybe get around 2 to 3 people who you really trust to talk to have read over your essay in order to make sure that you're getting across what you want to have come across, and also have them like check for grammar and things like that. So that's just a little bit about the college essay. Again, there's the main essay, and then with certain schools, there are also supplemental essays. So those have more specific prompts. Something to also, point out with the personal statement is that they give you a bunch of prompts, and the last one is you can write about whatever. Don't even read the prompts. Just write about what you think is important, because at the end of the day, there's always that 7th option. So they're not looking for you to specifically respond to one of those prompts. You don't even have to select one. So just write your essay about something that is authentic to you. And then with the interview, some schools do offer either an alumni or an admissions interview. Again, it's just another way of getting to know you and for you to show your interest in the institution. It's good to do some practice before the interviews, and you can Google to have some idea of what the questions could be. But again, it's about showing who you are, showing that you're thoughtful, showing that you're really interested in the institution. So if they do offer you an interview, do it. Try to be in, a space where you're alone, where there's not a lot of distractions, maybe wear headphones that they can hear you. But it is important that, if you're really interested in a school, that you do the interview, you do your homework. Again, look on the website. You want to have questions prepared. So when they ask you at the end, and this is for almost any interview in your life, by the way, at the end, when they ask you, do you have any questions? You want to have some questions prepared that show that you're thoughtful and that you are really interested in that institution. Anything else you'd like to add?
I know for some, when it comes to writing the essay, the idea of showing, don't tell,
Yes.
works for some.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying you have to go that direction, but just showing or just showing.
Yeah. With it, yeah, I got you.
Yes.
So when you say like tell your story, like legitimately you want to tell a story. You don't want to sit there and say, I am this, I am that, because it just comes off like you're reading your resume to the person and they're not going to remember these things or see it as authentic. But if you were to tell a story, then they're able to follow it. They're able to see examples of what you're saying or what you're trying to show. You do want to do a little bit of telling because they're reading hundreds of essays. So they're not going to, if your point is a little abstract, you're going to want to point it out a little bit, but you're going to like think about, as you're telling the story, like what do you think about your five senses? What do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? What are things that people have said to you to show that, if someone told you, wow, what you just did was really inspired me, it comes off very different than I'm an inspiring person. So you want to just make sure that you are capturing your audience in a way they're going to remember you. And it's easier to do that when you show, not tell.
And it's always a good idea to look in your area for an alumni association for the college that you want to attend. They have been in your shoes where they have applied to go to the institution. They can give you some tips. They can advocate for you. So I would say, look for an alumni association for the college that you want to attend, if there's one in your area, to see how they can aid in you getting to the point where you get you get an interview for the college you want to attend. And I wanted to just make a slight correction because I think I just misspoke about the Common App. The Common App, there's no fee to use the Common application, but you do have to you have to pay a processing fee for whichever college you want to attend. So the Common Black application is one fee, and you can apply with no additional fees to whichever college you want to attend. Now we're at the end of that.
Like early action, early decision, those things.
Did I miss that?
I think so.
Oh.
There we go.
Yes.
You already spoke about rolling admission deadlines, but there's also other ways of, again, showing that you're really interested in going to an institution. And it could also be a way of it being, by applying earlier, then it could kind of up your chances of getting into the institution. So you might see regular decision, early action, and or early decision. So with early decision, that's when this is your top school. If you get in, you're going to go there, because when you apply early decision, when you're admitted, you're saying that you will go there. And sometimes there's a penalty associated if you end up going somewhere else, or if you apply to 2 different early decision schools. So when you apply early decision, that's one school that you're going to go to if you were admitted. The only real exception to not going to that institution is if you can't afford it. But other than that, if you're going to apply to a school early decision, it is, or if you know you really want to go to a school, it is in your best interest to apply early decision, because it is more likely that you'll get in that way than waiting for a regular decision, because they know that you are committed to the institution. Early action is another way of showing that you're really interested, but it's not binding, whereas early decision is binding. So early action is an earlier deadline, a smaller pool of applicants that they're looking at, and so you can get a decision earlier than others. So even if you apply early decision or early action, let's say you are not admitted as ED or EA, it is still possible that they will consider you for the other cycles. So by not getting in ED or EA might not be that you're getting flat out, told that you weren't accepted into the institution, but they're just going to reconsider you at other times. Anything you wanted to add with that?
No, actually.
But yeah, so if you are in the process of applying to schools right now, this is, early decision, early action time. So if you are really interested in an institution and you have started your essay and you're kind of close to getting it, but you're thinking about doing regular decision, regular decision, I would encourage you to at least try to get it in for early action if you really want to attend an institution. Any questions with the college application essay interview?
I didn't see any questions in the chat.
So the next topic, financial aid, can be a very information-filled topic. So we're going to do our best to give you the pieces that are easy to flow with, but again, we give you resources to get additional information. The FAFSA. Anyone who wants to get federal financial aid would need to fill out the FAFSA form. It is a free application to fill out. You will go to the website, which is on the screen. I will definitely say, I've seen students who have left out the .ed.gov and have gone to fafsa.com, .org, and they think they are on the right site. They put in all the information, and at the end, they're asking for a fee. There is never a fee to fill out the FAFSA. So please make sure when you go to the website, you're going to fafsa.ed.gov. That is the correct website. The qualifications for filling out the FAFSA is a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen, a valid social security number, be registered with selected service if you are male, and have a high school diploma or recognized equivalence. Okay, so applying. Again, you need to fill out your free FAFSA form, and it opens October 1. At one point, it opened January 1 of the following year. However, they have pushed that deadline back to October 1. So if you're planning to attend college fall 2021, your form has opened in October 1. And the form is used to determine if you are eligible for grants, loans, or work study. The difference between the three, federal grants, you do not have to pay that money back. When you think about a student loan, that money has to be paid back. And depending on if it's a subsidized or unsubsidized, it depends on when the interest will start to accrue on the loan. And also work study. I did not do work study, but I know work study is you're able to work on campus and get paid for working And some give you the space to study because it is work study. So you're actually doing a job on campus, and there's some time reserved to do some study as well. Not everyone qualifies for work study. Some colleges have a lot of work study options. Some have very little work study options. So that's why it's really important, if you want to maximize on your eligibility for financial aid, to start your process early, which is October 1. Also keeping in mind, each individual state has a deadline. So even though you start to apply for federal aid October 1, I know for the state of Texas, you have to have in your form by January 21st to get any type of Texas aid. So make sure that you find out or look up, Delaware requires you to have a form in by what date?
And now it's easier to apply for FAFSA if your parents have done their taxes, so they can just, connect the FAFSA to I can't even think of the word right now, to the government's website or to the IRS, and they will pull in their tax information. Because I know when I was a student, our parents had to go through and fill all that information out separately and provide separate information. But it's a little easier now if your parents have filed their taxes, and I think it's based on 2 years ago, then they could just upload that information from the IRS.
Yes. And if there are any parents who are concerned about your student looking at your IRS information, the good thing is that they don't have to see that information, essentially. Like if you want to put it in, or if you want to do that process and that step, you're able to do it on your own.
Mm-hmm.
But that is definitely needed. So start having a conversation now about what that will look like when it comes to getting the information to put your income into the system. And you will have an opportunity to put a school code in. Mm-hmm. I suggest you put every school you're even thinking about attending. Don't just put the school that you absolutely want. Every school that you think you may attend, include it on the FAFSA form, because it won't stunt the process when it comes to them giving you a financial aid award letter. So you can compare award letters. And after you submit your FAFSA, you will get a student aid report. And the student aid report will detail the EFC, the expected family contribution. And it will let you know, based off of the information that is put in, your family is expected to contribute this amount towards paying for your college education. So once you get your student aid report, the SAR, you want to look at the information, and you have to take both types of information. I know that Yala spoke about sticker price, and not being afraid to apply for institution if the sticker price is not what you want, because there's a lot of different types of aid. When you look at scholarships is not determined by, some scholarships not determined by your FAFSA. Some, they do look at income, but not all scholarships are determined by FAFSA. And Yala, you can speak to, I know, for example, Brown University, your alma mater. I know that they allow certain students to go for free based off of income. Do they utilize their SAR for anything else?
No, they look at if you are like the expected family contribution. At least when I was there, they looked at your expected family contribution, and they provided grants up until that. But now I think if you make below or a certain amount, you go for free. Or like Hopkins and different schools, they look, if you're a Pell Grant recipient, then you don't have to take out any loans. They provide, institutional scholarships and things like that. But there's different aid depending on the institution that is available to you based on if you do qualify for federal grants. For example, at Hopkins, if you are a student who is receiving grants, then there is a certain amount of money that they will provide for you to, purchase a laptop and Wi-Fi. And that's just available to all students who are receiving the grant. So make sure that you fill this out, that you fill out the FAFSA, because it's not only going to determine how much you pay in terms of tuition, but it also can help you with the different resources that are available to you as well.
And a lot of merit-based scholarships don't look at your SAR. They want more so to see that you are academically sound. However, if you're looking at need-based scholarships, a need-based scholarship is just a scholarship that is determined by a need, like you need additional money to pay for tuition fees. You do need a SAR for them to determine eligibility. So again, not all the scholarships require a SAR, but a lot of the need-based scholarships will require a SAR, which means you would have to fill out the FAFSA form.
Yep.
So this is a sample student aid report. You see at the top, it has your personal information, and then at the bottom, it just has the information that you put in. And this is not the full report, but I wanted to give you just an example of what it looks like to get your SAR. And you see under comments about your information, your EFC, after this student put their information in, it was determined that the student's family contribution is $7,256. They will award you aid based off of that number. So based off the fact that your parents or your family can afford $7,200, we'll give you anything minus that. And that can be in the form of a grant, a loan, as well as work study. One of the benefits of putting several institutions on your FAFSA form is that you can compare award letters. Like you want to do what you feel will put you in the best financial situation. Award letters will be different. You will see some schools have a lot more money to give than others. So when you get the award letters, make sure that you are comparing them. Make sure you understand what you are reading. They look at cost of attendance, which means fees, room, and housing. If you go to a school that has housing, board, which is your meal plan, transportation, books, personal expenses, and other supplies. So all of that is included in the cost of attendance. And if for whatever reason you don't understand what you are reading, please reach out to someone, your counselor, or reach out to a resource. And I know the student aid, they have a YouTube channel that helps you understand what you are reading. So even if you go to their YouTube channel, just make sure you are making the best informed decision, which means you understand what you are reading when it comes to your award letters. Okay, so loans. When it comes to community colleges, for example, with a lot of community colleges, because they are reasonable when it comes to the cost, a lot of times a grant can cover the cost of your tuition at a community college. But the reality is, if you're going to a four-year institution, you will have to definitely use your grants as well as loans. So federal loans are available to the students as well as the parents once they complete the FAFSA. Student loans for students, the credit history is not considered, but a parent loan, credit history is considered. So those are the two things that you need to understand. When it comes to student loans, the credit history is not considered for the student, but for the parent, credit history is considered. Loans must be paid back. And if for whatever reason you do accept a student loan and you do not enroll after a semester that you complete, after 6 months, you have to start paying that loan back. You can definitely consider private loans, but I will say consult with the financial aid office first before you go the route of a private loan, not a federal loan.
And just remember that grants are free. So always take advantage of your grant.
So just briefly, the types of student loans, you have the federal Stafford loan, the direct loan, the federal plus loan, which is for the parents. This is a lot of information on the screen. You will get, I'm thinking you will get a copy of the actual PowerPoint in a PDF, so you can look at this in more detail, but this breaks down the types of loan and when you have to pay them back and more additional information about the loan and the loan amounts. Okay, enrollment fees. So once you get your financial aid and you want to go to the institution of your choice, just keeping in mind that you also will have to pay an enrollment fee. An enrollment fee is for new students. So students who have confirmed that they are attending the institution, there's a fee that you have to pay to almost not even necessarily hold your spot, but it's a fee that you have to pay that goes towards certain costs related to a first-time student coming to the college, and that is considered an enrollment fee. Usually enrollment fees are not refundable. So just making sure like when you get to this point, it is the institution that you want to attend. Some institutions don't have enrollment fees, but the majority of institutions, they do have an enrollment fee that you have to pay. The housing process. So once you pay your enrollment fee, you say you're going to attend, there's a process for getting housing, especially for those institutions that have housing. But figuring out if you want to stay on campus, which dorm, that's why it's important to do the virtual tours if possible for those who can't get to the campus, depending on the state of the campus, if they're doing tours in person, but just doing a virtual tour. That's why it's important to connect with those who are coming in with you. So the freshman class of fall 21, I'm sure there's some type of group with social media, just connecting with those that will be there with you. Housing fees are usually non-refundable as well. The larger the institution, the more housing options that are available. A lot of institutions have freshman housing where it will be just select housing for freshmen, so they may fill up. So making sure that you do everything in a timely manner.
And connect with current students as well, because they went through it already, so they could give you some tips.
I'm going to quickly go through the placement test. So once you, before you are able to register for classes, you have to take a placement test. And a placement test tells the institution if you are able to go right into your college level English and college level math courses. Some institutions, based off of your SAT score, your ACT score, or your high school GPA, they waive the requirement for a placement test. But if not, if you don't get that waiver, you need to take the placement test. If they use AccuPlacer, for example, you can go to AccuPlacer's website and it has a practice test. This is important because this starts your math and English trajectory while you're in college. You don't want to start in a lower math course because you didn't take the placement test seriously. If you know you can do college algebra, prepare for the placement test so you can go into college algebra so you're able to move forward with whatever math that you need for your major. But the important thing with the placement test is making sure you prepare for it. You can find out which test they use by going to the institution's website. So you can type University of Delaware placement test and make sure it's the right site, the right link, and it will use, sometimes they will have which test they use, so you're able to use that as a resource. Developmental courses or remediation courses are courses that you take before you take your college level English and math. Those courses do not count towards your degree. So you'll be taking these courses, you'll be paying for these courses, but they don't count towards your degree. If you receive federal financial aid, some institutions have a limit on how many times you can take a developmental course. So if you take a developmental English course and you fail it, we know that you're not going to fail, but for whatever reason, if you fail it a certain amount of times, financial aid will stop paying for that course. So just making sure that you pace yourself for wherever you place when it comes to the placement test. after the placement test, you will meet with your advisor. So you have to go through college orientation, and through that orientation, you will more than likely meet your advisor, and that advisor will help you pick the courses for your major. You will also meet other students who are coming in the same time as you. So you can get acquainted with the campus services, you can get acquainted with your future roommate, but student orientation, that is the opportunity for you to get acclimated to the campus and pick your classes for the semester and get to understand the services that will be available to you while you are a student on campus.
And definitely look out for resources for like first generation students. Like for example, there's TRIO student success programs that are specifically for first generation students that will help you to get acclimated. They will help you with tutoring, or they might be able to have like financial resources, things like that. They'll help you fill out your FAFSA when you have to fill it out every year, things like that. So just make sure that you are looking for the resources available to you, and many schools do have resources specifically for first generation students.
Useful websites. So we said a whole lot this evening, but I wanted to make sure that Yala and myself left you with websites. So everything we spoke about, you can find it on one of these websites: the Common App, the Black Common App, the FAFSA website, Hispanic Scholarship Fund, if you want to look at information in colleges that are Hispanic serving. But all the resources here will help you as you are preparing to apply for college. All right, so do we have any questions? I know that was quick, but I wanted to make sure we got all the information to you.
Oh, I didn't see any questions in the chat.
Okay, very good.
So we do have just a couple minutes, so I want to give the people on the call time to put any questions in, because you have two good resources here who can answer anything that you want to know a little bit more about. While you're thinking of your questions, I want to tell you just a couple things. On the Delaware Student Success website, where on the calendar where you registered for this session, you will also see a whole lot of financial aid information sessions run by an organization called Stand By Me. So Stand By Me is a partner of the Delaware Department of Education. They are offering general sessions about financial aid so you can learn more about it. They have sessions on learning about how to apply for scholarships. You can also sign up to have a one-on-one appointment to help filling out your FAFSA. And that would just be with you and your family and the Stand By Me person and they're experts in financial aid. So I urge you to take advantage of those opportunities, because financial aid, as you saw, can be complicated, but we have a lot of resources there and a lot of sessions, and you just have to click on the calendar link and you register for those so you can sign up for those. So take advantage of that help that's open to any student and parent in the state of Delaware. Another thing I want to make sure you know, we are in the middle of college application month in Delaware. And so all of our in-state colleges and universities are waiving their application fees for our Delaware students through the end of November. So please, if you're going to apply in-state, it would be smart to get your applications in before the end of November this month. And then you don't have to ask for a waiver or anything like that. Rachel put the link to the fee waiver in the chat. I saw that earlier, but again, that's also on the Delaware Student Success website. There's a college application month button, and that's where the information is on what you need to do to get the fee waiver. It's just usually a code that goes on the application. One thing I want to make sure you know, so a lot of schools, as our presenter said, are going test optional right now. So that means you don't have to submit your SAT or ACT scores. However, one question that you always want to ask the admissions person is, will not submitting your score impact anything else? Because there are some colleges that use your SAT scores or ACT scores to decide on merit scholarships. And so, for example, at Delaware State University, if you don't submit your SAT or ACT scores, you will not be considered for merit scholarships. So you want to know, if you're not going to submit your scores, if you have that choice, what else might it impact in your admissions or financial aid decision? So it's different for every school. Everybody's changing the rules right now because we're in this pandemic, but that's definitely something that you want to ask so you can make your best decision on whether you do or do not submit your scores. I think that was it for my list of things. Okay.
And then, yes, it was pointed out that another fee waiver resource is through NACAC, which is NACAC. I forgot, I could not remember where I'd seen a fee waiver before, but yes, so that is another way to have your application fee waived when applying to institutions. And again, they look at things such as, if you are on free and reduced lunch, so you would have that, I think, signed by your college counselor as well.
So that is the National Association for College Admissions Counseling, and that's something that your counselor would be tied to. That wouldn't be something that students would go to directly, but really for the fee waivers, you want to ask your school counselor is your best route, because they don't know who's on free and reduced lunch or what your income status is. They're not allowed to know that. So you need to reach out and ask that question, and then they can help you, they'll ask you whatever questions, and based on the information that you provide, they can certainly connect you with the fee waivers that you need.
And for the question in the chat, if you opt not to fill out the FAFSA, another way that you could pay for college is scholarships. So you could search and look for scholarships. Definitely that could help as relates to paying for college. But if you want any type of federal aid, you have to fill out the FAFSA, but scholarships is another way. But again, a lot of the need-based scholarships requires a student aid report, which comes along with filling out the FAFSA.
And it's good to use both resources, right? So you'll want to fill out the FAFSA and look into scholarships. And don't decide for yourself that you won't qualify for aid. Because I know some people just will be like, well, I'm not going to qualify for any aid, so I won't fill out the FAFSA. It's always best to do it just in case, to see what you do qualify for. And because some scholarships and things like that do look for the FAFSA application.
So I don't see any other questions, and I know we're at 8:01. So I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening, and especially thank Takora and Yala for being with us and sharing their expertise on this process. My contact information is up on the screen with the Delaware Higher Education Office. If you need anything or have questions, feel free to email us. And please check out DelawareStudentSuccess.org for information on all the other topics which could be helpful in your journey for planning your next steps after high school. So thank you everyone for joining us, and have a good evening.
Thank you.